Okay, this will be the last bit here now. We've kind of brought these things into SketchUp. Some of these seem are colored, some of them are already rendered. That's kind of want to show you that you could actually have worked in your Photoshop stuff and gone and done some rendering, and we can actually go ahead and make it look a little bit better by taking out the edges. And so kind of get the idea that you could have all kinds of different art here. And what we're going to do right now is we're just going to add a joint to this piece so it goes back and forth in a certain direction. So we do that by making sure, we're going to right click here, that it is an object, a solid object. We now can go ahead and add either a motor, slider, piston, a servo, or a hinge. And we're going to do it here with a slider. We grab here from intersection to the group, and the intersection of the group. What that does, it adds a slider, but that is not connected until you actually go and hit this connector, hit a control button, holding down the control and grab your two things. Hit that here, and now when you turn on physics, you realize that there is something, well, that you can control back and forth. Try it again this time, and this time I'll stop a little bit better. We're going to go ahead and start stop, get this thing out of the way, turn it back on, and we start to see that we have some sort of dynamic art here. Now that's all well and good, but that really just begins to open up the possibilities with regard to these joints and this work. You have an ability here, if you notice here, we can go ahead and grab that entity and give it a magnet strength of perhaps 100 or 1,000. We can grab that entity, and right there you see, as I mentioned before, you lose that ability, so you need to now do File, Save, File, Exit, and go back into SketchUp. When you go back in, you're going to be able to do it again. So you can add magnetism, you can add emitter status, you can add a whole plethora of things. And once again here, we're going to go here. We've already made that. We're going to grab this one here and we're going to make it magnetic. We're going to go ahead and make this one, I'm sorry, we're going to make it magnetic. And this one here we will make magnetic. And if we go down here, we're actually going to make that as well, a magnet of 1,000 strength. These numbers are not necessarily benchmarked to anything in particular. You see right there it stopped. We would have to go back and get out and go back in. The next version will probably be better, but let me go ahead and start and stop. Turn that on now. Now if we notice there, I don't know if it's magnetism is actually holding up or not, but you notice there a little bit there, you notice that it's probably got a little bit of magnetism. So that is sketchy physics. We'll do one more here just so you can kind of get an idea of one of the last things you can do to it. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to just change that. We'll have to save again. File, Save. File, Exit, and go back in. That's one of the issues with the latest experimental version, but it does have great promise in that it does allow you to Ruby script, similar to auto lisping or visual basicing. In AutoCAD you can Ruby script. And so here we're going to go ahead this time, we're going to grab on that and go to the user interface here, and we're going to change that to what we did once before, math.sin frame/30. I'm not quite sure what all those things mean, but the math is this is a Ruby function. It takes all of your Ruby functions. Go ahead and hit that here, and now when you notice when I turn it on, I'm not moving anything, and it is still not quite working. Let's check it out one more time. You see that's connected to the slider. didn't take what I did. We're going to grab on that. Once again, File, Save, File, Exit, go back into SketchUp. That's one of the not such great things about this, but if you get your workflow together, it's not so bad. File, open there. Let's see what I did wrong. Grab this here. Math capital.sin frame/30. Close it out. Click to a couple of these. Perhaps if you go back and check it again, you'll see whether it took. It did take it, so this time when I turn it on, I'm hoping that it actually moves on its own, as it's doing right there. Now, you can play around with those numbers to free it up, but you can imagine with this system you can have a relatively not infinite number of objects that are on separate math functions that are synchronized to one another. They actually have things like on touch, where if something is touching something, it will do it if it's doing something like that, or you have an ability to tie it to any key in the keyboard plus an Xbox controller. So pretty incredible stuff, especially if you have taken your art and you've placed it onto these things. So that's my hope that some of you using Photoshop or learning to get into the GIMP or AutoCAD will start to put these things together and do some modeling. We're still looking for that beautiful MathCAD link or the PLC link. It's got to be coming. There's a lot of interesting people doing interesting things out in this engine, and there'll be only more as we see that it can now be exported to Max 3ds. Thanks for listening. That's the end of our series. Please make a comment here if you're interested in me doing something particular. This has been rough, but I just do want to get some people exposed to what's possible here once you're done with the 2D. Thanks for listening.